want to welcome you guys back to episode 10 of the Rad Chick Society podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Nason, and today we're bringing you BMXer, graphic designer, photographer, and creator of the Through the Looking Glass zine, Tasha Lindemann. One of the things I love most about Tasha and this episode is how she's made herself such an important part of the BMX community without ever having to be the sickest female rider out there. I know for a fact that her experiences are going to relate over to so many girls in all communities, not just BMX. So if you guys haven't heard yet, our podcasts are now live on YouTube. So if you want to actually see who these girls are and see who Tasha is and connect with her on the next level, be sure to head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Real quick before we dive in, we are down to having only 10 of our Stronger Together shirts left available for sale. Stronger Together is a campaign where we use all of the funds from the shirt to give back to the community. This t-shirt was designed by Jessica Voorhees, and we have 2 editions available, Classic Black and our limited edition Destroyed. If you want to support the community, head on over to our shop at www.radchicksociety.com and grab yourself a 6 shirt or 2, or 3, or 4, whatever.
Yeah. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You are now entering the Rad Chick Society
Podcast. Yeah, so it's literally 15 minutes right down the road.
Oh, well, next time I'll let you know I'm there.
I know. I don't even know if Cody's been riding much so far this year.
He
hasn't shown much, and Adam just got hurt
doing a lot of fishing. So.
I know. Catching those trout.
Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, whatever makes you happy. That's what it's all about.
Right? That's what it's all for.
So I'm excited to talk to you. This is the first opportunity to actually get to chat, and I was like, well, that's why we connect so well, because I heard that you grew up on a ranch.
Oh yeah, the horse thing.
I had no idea.
My dad was a farrier and a horse trainer. He trained horses for horse races.
Yeah.
Quarter horses primarily. But we bred some of our horses. We had 20 horses when I was born. I think some of them we boarded. But I grew up around horses, and then when I was 12, we sold the last one we had.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Did you ride?
I rode Western, so it was you just get on and your dad tells you what to do. I took riding lessons when I was in middle school, but I was kind of cocky and thought I knew what I was doing. But
I think
I didn't ever learn English or anything. There's no technicality to my riding skills.
What's funny is that I grew up riding English technically. But as I got older, I realized that there's so much about horsemanship that I didn't learn. That when I got my own horse, no matter what they were telling me to do, it just wasn't communicating right. And then I ended up working with somebody that worked more with natural horsemanship, and my horse drastically changed. And I was
you could communicate better.
Yeah, there was a lack in communication, and so I really while I grew up English, I had this whole newfound love for natural horsemanship, but natural horsemanship tends to, at least back when it was just starting to kind of get bigger, it was so much more Western based. And so I ended up kind of switching a little bit, but it's all the same.
I'm not even sure if I've ever even asked my dad how he learned how to train. Nope, I don't think I've ever asked that question, but
there you go.
It's part of his being. He is super good with animals, Mr. Horse, Dog, anything whisperer. So
is he still involved in any sort of training or no?
He's a carpenter now, but he has a dog that he but he goes and rides. He has a couple friends with horses, and he'll go and ride sometimes. But
that's cool.
He puts on his cowboy boots when he needs to. I worked my first job was working at a ranch because I wanted to be around horses again. And I worked in trail rides because I lived in South Dakota. I should kind of preface it. The horse thing, South Dakota, it makes a lot more sense there. But we lived in Custer when I was growing up. And so I worked at a trail rides place, and you just, ride all day at the slowest speed possible.
Yeah.
and deal
It's
with
fun,
really
though.
silly people who don't know how to ride. But I mean, you got to be around horses for 90% of your day. So
Yep.
it was the best first job I could have had.
That was technically my first job, I guess you could say, because I wanted to ride, but we didn't like have a lot of money. And so the only way I could ride was that I would take my bus from school. I would get dropped off at the horse farm and I had to clean stalls. And that was how I earned my lessons.
I couldn't ride. I couldn't ride for the first 2 years because their insurance. So I just cleaned stalls for the first 2 years. And I went to work every day. I loved it. I didn't care. Then I didn't have to deal with the people at all. I just got to hang out with the horses.
Right.
So.
I think it's good for the soul. A little bit of hard work and torture.
Well, and horses love you if you are sad, if you are happy. They're good for your emotional well-being, I think.
Yeah. I've now had to transfer that emotion into bikes. It's
I mean,
different.
They love you every day. So
I know. It's a little different, but so much the same. And it's cool. That's why I think I love it so much. I relate motocross a lot more to horses than I do mountain biking or dirt biking, but it's just like the challenge every day.
You jumped or barrel raced or something like that?
I like to say I just rode.
Okay.
I did like some shows when I was a little bit younger, probably through high school, just, here and there. It was like the thing to do. And then
that's hard work to train an animal to do what you wanted to do in those moments.
Yeah. And then I got out of riding for a little bit in high school and I ended up just doing some sports and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And then I want to say my first year of college, like right around there when I was about, I'm losing track of time here, but maybe 18ish. I think it was 18. I was never allowed to have a horse. My parents would never let me. So when I was 18, that was like, all right, you're a grown up now. If you want to pay for it, if you want to build your own barn, if you want to make it happen, like you have to go through the steps to do it. So when I was 18, I got my first horse.
That right up.
Yeah, I rescued him because that was the only way I could afford a horse.
Right.
So he was free, but free came with a lot of a lot of learning lessons. He was like
a lot of problems, I bet.
He was a little bit of a wild thoroughbred at some certain points. And so like learning to like I said, that whole communication factor. I never showed with him. We just did some fun stuff and I did a little jumping here and there just growing up, being around it, little hunter stuff. But after that, I just rode for the fun of it. And then we moved to the farm.
It's really all you need.
It's like therapy. Like you take your bike and you go out to the trails. Like I would take my horse and go out to the trails.
Go for a ride. Safest place in the world still to me. Like I haven't rode in probably maybe 7 years. It's too long, but like still it is like the safest place.
Yeah, I'm probably right.
One ride I will never forget. They had me take out this 17 hand paint. He was too wild for anyone to ride on the trails, and I was like, fine, I'll take him on a run, it'll be fine, I'll cool him right down. And we took like the 1 hour loop and we were done in like a half hour. We loped the whole thing. Oh, it was the best ride I've ever had.
Oh, so good.
Just so good.
It's such a good feeling.
What to do. He just did it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, I haven't ridden in a long time either. It's my horse passed away in 2013. He ended up colicking like middle of the night where nobody's around to even know. So after that I kept looking for a horse, and then I started looking for a horse that I could lease on my farm, and I drove to New York, and then it just started to sink in that maybe it's not the right decision. And we did end up deciding to travel after that. Sure. So kind of all worked out. And then I was missing that. I was missing that drive. And so that was when I was kind of like, think I want to learn to ride a dirt bike. And then that transitioned into everything else. And here we are. Let me just say that it's like, is it hot where you're at today?
So flipping hot.
So it's like 95 degrees and I live off the grid. So it's like, I'm in my trailer, my camper, and I am glistening like no other. So forgive me.
We have this so the central air went out in our house 6 months after we bought it, of course. and I can't afford to fix it. So I got one of those like portable ACs that you bent out of the window. Today, Jess put like a piece of plywood in and we got it like really good invented. And my office is like the furthest away from the AC. So can't even tell it's on over here. I got the window open. It's not really working.
Yeah, that's what I'm like, and then it's supposed to like downpour here any minute. And so I'm like, I am glistening like no other. So forgive me, people.
We have some great humidity curls going on. Like, I don't even know what's happening anymore. Got a Beatles flop going on.
Looking good. I like it.
Thanks. I'm so happy I chopped it all off. Oh, so good.
I'm about to do that next week.
Are you going shorter?
I am. I was debating doing it when I last got my hair done, but I was like still nervous. And now I'm like, cut it off. It's too much hair.
Yeah, I did about where you were at the first time. And I was like, okay. And it grew out so stinking fast. And I was like, well, now it looks like a mop on my head. So just go shorter and then maybe I'll last longer.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at the high maintenance haircuts. So
I feel like it's
gotta be able to go with me wherever I go. It's
just hair.
Right.
Like, whatever you do, it'll grow back and whatever.
Yeah.
It's fine. So I'm really curious to hear about your weight loss journey. So
yes, the weight loss thing.
You mentioned this and I was like, holy moly.
Just throw it in there. It's just
because it like leads into BMX and it leads into the community. And when I started hearing your story, I was literally like almost getting goosebumps that I never really thought of like fitness within BMX like being a thing and being a group, and then hearing your story. So maybe we should start like a little further back, and because I don't know your story. So
sure.
Maybe a little further back as to how you got into that group. So and then that will relate to your weight loss or weight loss first.
Yeah, well, it kind of starts before BMX even existed in my life. So when I was 21, I married this guy I met in college who did not take care of his body and did not encourage me to take care of my body. You know, like I kind of went down that same windy trail where you just eat whatever you want. And I was definitely eating my feelings because he ended up cheating on me. And it was like a terrible relationship mess that I stayed in way too long. And his grandpa died and like 59, 57. So it was young. And I remember it was like close to my dad's age. And he was like, oh, we're going to do this. We're going to lose all this weight and we're going to get healthy. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. I'm in. I am a black and white kind of go hard. If you want a goal, I want to go. So I went. We did the Atkins thing because you can eat a lot then and it doesn't really matter. You're just tricking your body. We can do this. And the first day of my diet was Valentine's Day, and I worked in a call center and they had heart-shaped pizzas.
Whose choice was that?
Oh,
Let's start.
I don't even know. Who decides that?
No.
Heart-shaped pizzas in the diner, in the cafe, like everyone can have them. They're free. Just gonna sit here and eat this salad. And I did. And I started working out at 5 a.m., which when I first started doing it was a stupid thing, but then he didn't want to go. And it became this amazing space for me to just figure out what I thought about things and not be stuck in his toxic airspace.
What kind of workouts did you start off with?
So I did a lot of cardio at first, but then his best friend from high school was actually like a weightlifter guy, and he gave me this whole plan, and he had my days set up for me, so I didn't have to think about what to do. I just went, and he's like, "This is what you're gonna do," and I did it, and I think like right away I lost. Doing the Atkins thing, it falls off pretty fast when you do it right away because you haven't been eating good for a while. I think I lost like 50 pounds right away, and I was stoked. It was the motivation I needed to keep going. And then he stopped, he gave up, and I just kept going. And then I wanted a divorce. And so I left and I moved in with my mom for 8 months, and that was necessary. And I didn't even, so bikes like totally came into my life because of a guy, which is kind of silly, but I think a lot of women have that happen.
I think
Because-
90%, I would have to say almost probably 100% of us like,
Almost.
into our lives because of a guy for the most part. It's
Well, and
either
I feel
brother
silly
or
about that because
dad
I'm
or-
like super independent in my head and I'm like, I don't need a man for anything kind of thing. But Jess, I met him at a party in a garage and it was super random and I didn't ever think I'd see him again. But then we talked for like 2 months straight on opposite ends of the state, and he did this thing called BMX and he told me it was a team sport. And I thought it was so dumb. I made fun of it all the time. And then I watched him ride and I took a couple photos and they were terrible. And then we started hanging out and I realized how much it fed his soul. Like it was something he needed to like sort through the day's problems or just to feel good at the end of a week or anything. And I was like, I guess if you're going to do anything at all, you should do it with passion. And then we moved to Nebraska because of some BMX friends. So I like got sucked into the whole community piece. I went to my first BMX jam at a barn in Iowa. And I thought, okay, I can camp in a field. I'm from South Dakota. I know how to do this. And then there were all these people riding these little kids' bikes around in this pole barn filled with ramps. And this is what I do now. Okay. But the people, all of the people, I don't know, I always felt loved by BMX from the very first time I was around it. I didn't ride for like the first probably year and a half I was around it. I was like, I mentioned it in the last podcast, but I have a sensory disorder. So my brain doesn't send signal back to my limbs about where they're at. And I have terrible balance and I am not athletic in any way. So I was like, I'm just going to keep working out at 5 a.m. and you do your thing.
Yep.
I'll be there for it. And then there were Carl's Nowhere BMX is in Nebraska. And he kind of circled me right in and got me involved. And he's got shirts that he does. And he helps a lot of people in the community. And I was all about that. Let's help him. Sure. And then his daughters ride. And so I was like, maybe I can ride with these little girls. I really like kids. That's fine. I can roll around with these little girls. And I really didn't ever think I'd do any more than just pedaling around. But then I came here and
Here to Pennsylvania.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm in Pennsylvania.
Right.
And the trails kind of don't stop calling, even if you sit there on the sidelines. So eventually I had to go for more.
I feel like
sidetracked. I on the weight loss thing. I missed the blip of the weight
we'll
loss
get
part.
back there. No worries.
I got stuck in BMX land, but
You're like, I'm BMX.
I love it.
And I think that's so cool about you, and that's one of the reasons I really wanted to chat, because I don't know if it's me in my own head but like I think we all actually we all have these feelings or these thoughts, whether we let them hold us back or not is kind of a different story. But we're not the best. We'll probably never be the best, most of us. But it's like you can still be a part of it. You can still be a part of the community. And I see so much that you do in the community through what you have to bring to the table. And I try to talk about that a lot, like within, our topics, our posts on Instagram and whatnot. It's not necessarily about your skills or how good you are or how fast you are. It's like what you bring to the party. Like, are you bringing the good times? Are you bringing
absolutely?
You're bringing the good times and the good personality, but you're also bringing your skills of being a graphic designer and an artist and photography, and that is a big piece of contribution right there.
Well, and I didn't ever really plan to do all these things.
No, but you did it, and it
just seems to happen. It just seems to, but it's kind of because it's like my mom and my dad's fault.
Well,
like if they're involved in something, they're involved. I just kind of grow up that way.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you.
No, you're good.
we can like bring it back to the weight loss in the story. Is you were talking about you had met Joe. Do you say Doherty or you were saying
Dougherty is how I say it.
Dougherty?
I
What?
think
Joe,
I don't know.
don't be
Maybe
offended
I
by
say it
us.
wrong.
Granddad.
Dad.
So you were talking about you actually met Granddad through
Okay,
weight
we
loss
can rewind
group.
this. Sure.
And so, but that's kind of like how I came in contact with you. Between I met Jess and then I kind of met Granddad, and you were tied to them. And so like everything that you do, it contributes in one way or another, and it like
all in
brings
different
the
places.
whole community together, which is so cool.
Well, and meeting Joe was super random because I didn't know anyone on the East Coast. We had some friends that moved out here, and that's why we like came to see people, whatever.
South Dakota is pretty central, right?
Where?
But South Dakota is pretty kind of like central west.
North central. Like there's not really much of a BMX scene there at all.
Yeah.
So we moved to Nebraska, and like Midwest BMX is pretty small knit. Like people. If you are in Nebraska, you know people in Kansas who ride. You know people in South Dakota who ride. There's not that many of them.
So much like the East Coast too.
It's true. It's similar.
Yeah.
So we went to a jam in St. Louis, and I met this guy named Scott Zabliski, but he rides a lot with Kim Klesiak, who rides Flatland Women's BMX. She runs Women of Freestyle, I think it's called. I could be wrong what that's called.
We can add it in after.
And it's okay. But she's amazing. But she did this, like, I'd never seen Flatland before. And she did this circle of Flatlanders, and it was like yoga on bicycles. I'm not any good at Flatland, but I really love to watch it because it's like choreographed dance something. But there was this older gentleman, Scotty, I think he goes by Scotty. He had this really cool bike. It was like copper and turquoise. Of course, I remember the colors. But he added me on Facebook after the thing, and I'd been working on my weight loss for a while. I probably about 5 years then had been like 5 a.m. workout girl. I'd lost 100 pounds at that point. And I posted like a before and after because it was like a motivation thing for me. You've done this, keep going. And I had some likes or whatever. And Scotty's like, oh my gosh, you need to be a part of this group. And I said, okay, sure. I love motivation. Turns out it's K-Rob's exercise group, and it's a closed group on Facebook for, I think there was only like 20 of us in this group, maybe more. But K-Rob, who I didn't know at the time, I just thought he was this really nice guy who rode BMX, did these like motivational Monday talks where he just cheered us on for the week. And Jess and we went through some hard times in Nebraska, and we would sit on the floor of our apartment or wherever we were at the time and watch the motivational Monday with K-Rob. Okay, yes, you're right. That's what I need this week. It was everything I needed when I needed it. And Joe was a part of the group. And that's how I met Joe. And now he's here, and I'm a part of his life in real life, but he had a jam going on then, and I wrote in the group, well, if you need help with graphic stuff, he kind of looked like he had it taken care of. So I was like, I'll just throw that in there if he needs help, Well, turns out his graphics guy is super busy and really doesn't have time to do any of that. So then I was getting an email from Vans to do a sponsor poster, and I was like, oh, okay. Sure, this is happening. And the rest, I guess, is kind of history. Now I help Joe with graphic stuff, and it's super fun. And Mike Aiken is coming to the new jam, so that's exciting. That
is really cool.
I'm excited.
Sorry, I was trying to change.
No, you're good.
I just realized that my face was little. That's so cool. And BMX
super random too.
I would like to say that BMX is so small, but like all of these sports have their own little community where just everybody starts to know everybody. And that's what's, I think it's so cool. And I feel like my introduction to BMX was similar to yours in a way, where I was like, I'm trying to think of my husband. Well, my real introduction came from my husband's best friend who owned a BMX shop. But, and that was, I want to say, the first like 5 or 6 years of our marriage. Like every day we'd be, all right, let's go to Chuck shop.
Sure.
Let's go to Chuck shop. Like we'd always be there, but I was never into it. I just didn't get it. But I think it was because I didn't feel like I was one of them. You know,
Right.
I wasn't
don't
one of
ride those bikes.
yeah, I wasn't one of the guys. Like I didn't really get what was going on. And he would always
Well, and it's a foreign language. If you don't know the terms or how you're supposed to say this or who this guy is, it goes right over your flipping head the first time and the seventh time. You're just
and
like,
if you haven't
figure that out.
Never having even experienced riding a bike, like even when I started riding motocross, when I started actually riding, watching it became a whole different level. You know, you can actually
Definitely
be in it. So that was like my initial, but I never felt like I was part of it. And so when we first started traveling, our second winter that we traveled, my husband decided to like start riding BMX kind of more seriously, where he wasn't riding seriously before. And so we're just like traveling the country, stopping at basically all of the most like epic places between whatever, like Florida and California, like, and I'm meeting like all of these guys who are
you didn't know who anyone was.
I don't know who any of them are, but they're all these professional riders that I find out are like these big deals. And I'm just like, like, but you don't think, I'm not thinking like that. I'm just
but
like,
that's part of our charm. When we don't like kiss their butt, I think they like that better, like a normal person who is like drooling, you know?
But you just treat them like a normal person. But I think
like one of the guys.
The thing that I'm super quiet. If anyone ever is like around me, I'm usually like, I'm really quiet. I'm pretty reserved, but if you talk to me, I'll talk to you. Like I'm friendly. But so they would just talk to me and start talking to me. And I was just like, well, this is weird because like nobody ever talked to me before. Like nobody ever made me kind of feel inclusive. And so it was a whole different experience. Like we literally were meeting strangers because we didn't really know anyone in the BMX community.
That's super cool.
I'm not even going to say, he doesn't like me to give away secrets as to how we got places. But basically just like, he would reach out to people. Hey, we're in the area.
Yeah.
And a majority of the time they would welcome us over. And it was just a whole different perspective. I never imagined myself riding, but it felt good to be in the community and not be, I don't know, looked at as just like, oh, a girl, she's just sitting there on the sidelines. Like they actually included me in the conversation and in the hangout. And that was definitely a whole shift.
Yeah.
The enjoyment of the sport. And I think
photography kind of gave me that part. Like,
oh, I bet.
Once I started to like see the moments, like, oh, this is the right moment for that trick. This is the right moment for that. This is because when I first started, I like sequence shot everything. And I said, okay, Jess, here are my photos. Tell me which one is the right one. Because I don't know.
Right. I was going to ask you that.
I had no clue what I was doing at first. And now I do single shutter, but I had zero clue. And bless his heart, he sat by me for hours showing me, this is called this, and this is the right moment because of this. And you like to shoot it from this side because it shows this. And like, super patient, man. Bless his heart.
That's really cool. Did he have any photography experience, or does he just know how he wants the shot to look?
No, he actually went to in high school. He did a film class, so he knows how to develop his own film. He does video now, but
okay, so he kind of knows.
Oh yeah, he
got the eye.
He shoots BMX, so and it's actually our styles have both kind of evolved in a different way. It's been kind of fun to watch, but that's kind of geeky talk. But it's cool, yeah. Now I get excited when I see him and like at a jam or something, when I see the moment, even if I don't shoot it, I'm usually screaming about it. I'm super loud and stoked, and I love it, all of it.
I've loved your pictures, and especially of the, I don't know if you call it the kids jam or just, the kids jam at,
Yeah,
I haven't been
Catty.
to Posh or Catty, so I always confuse the two. I'm like,
No
which
problem.
one's more tame? Catty's more tame or Posh?
They both are kind of extreme in their own ways. Catty has more lines for like easier lines.
Okay, so Women's Weekend is mainly at Catty.
It's at both.
It's at both, like one on each day, but
Mhm.
I feel like Adam's always said that one's more extreme than another.
Like the roller lines are different. They're very, very different places to ride. Like Catty, I feel like has done a lot more like tailoring to a younger rider, where Posh is a little bit more extreme. It's definitely belongs on the second day because then you can practice the Catty first and then
Yep.
go to
So I want to real quick. Oh, so what I was saying first off, let me finish that thought.
the
is
kids
that
jam.
you capture the emotion, and I've told you this before, but you capture the emotion in everything so good. Like if people don't follow you, like go follow you.
Oh.
TJL photo. Is there an underscore?
Underscore photo.
TJL underscore photo on Instagram. But I love your pictures. Like they're just, they make you feel that moment.
That's the goal.
So good.
I love it. I like the light to like feel right, and yeah, very cool.
It's awesome.
Good.
What I was gonna say next. What was I gonna say next?
Catty Posh Women's Weekend.
I like Catty Posh Women's Weekend. Anyways, I'm excited to go this year. Are you
gonna come?
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. I'm so sorry. I lost my track. I am gonna go. I didn't go last year because my niece got married on that.
Oh
day.
yes. Last year was a bit off too. It was hard to be together and not together, and so I think this year will feel a little bit better.
Yeah, this year's gonna be fun, I bet. So what I wanted to do is kind of, not everybody listening is a BMXer, so the BMX community, it's like anything that you're kind of familiar with. You know all the term, you know all the slang, you know how everything works. So the BMX, I thought it would be cool to kind of give the people listening a little bit of insight into BMX and how, I don't say how everything operates, but it's like motocross is almost kind of obvious, where there's a track, you go, you pay, and you ride.
Yeah.
Mountain bike, there's public trails that you go, you ride. If you want to be a part of the mountain bike community, the mountain bike association, you can go and help on the trails. BMX is very, very, very different.
A little bit different. It's definitely about who you know.
Yeah, and that's why I want to share, and why I think it's so cool to introduce people to this, because there are a lot of people. Of course, there's skate parks, which are public and anybody can go to those.
Yep.
But the trails scene is a bit different. And so many of the trails are on either private or illegal property.
Yes.
A lot of the trails that are on illegal property have, over the years, since most of them were built like so many years ago, like 20-ish started, 20 years ago, they're now just kind of legal. They've, like Posh and Catty,
right, they're established.
You know the story behind that more than I do.
We pay rent and we have insurance and stuff now. So Catty is technically legal. Posh is technically legal.
Right. So they worked with you, the landowners worked with Posh and Catty to make sure they had insurance, to make sure it was a safe place to ride. So that's really cool when the landowners do that, and they will work with it. This happened down Texas, in Houston. Oh goodness, I've been all over that. Sometimes I get everything confused. What are the trails in Houston?
Oh, I don't know.
If it comes to me, it'll come to me. But another similar situation where it was on, I think it's on town property, and they were almost going to shut them down this year because something to do with the flood zone. But that was one of those places where they saw that it was a really positive thing for the community. They started building mountain bike trails there as well. And so it became a great public place for everyone to come and ride. So the town or city allowed them to stay. So I just want to share, like, that's awesome. How a lot of these trails work for those who don't know. So they are either private or they are,
Well, and a lot of
Semi-illegal,
it still has that punk feel, and it's like hidden, and there's, some place where everyone slapped a whole bunch of stickers, and you don't ride if there's no locals, and you pick up a watering can or a shovel before you get your bike out, and
yeah.
all
So
of those.
even when you if you were to come across any of these spots, which most of them are pretty public in the sense of public knowledge these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not like you just show up and ride. Most of the time it's more so an organized event, or people are riding on a certain day, and that's when people go out and get together, because this takes a lot of work. Like, most of these trails are dug by hand, built by hand, shaped by hand, slapped by shovel,
Every year too, like that's the other thing, is because
Every
the
year.
winners, you rebuild every year. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't super familiar. A lot of people down south aren't super familiar with the ground up north, but the ground up north, we get a lot of moisture in the ground.
Have clay, though. We do have clay.
Depending on where you are.
Yes,
we get a lot of
we
moisture
have clay here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, moisture in the ground. It gets into the jumps. When we get a frost, it pops the jumps, and so it's a lot of work to rebuild them every single year. So yeah, there is trail etiquette where you show up, you help on the work days. Everybody kind of like I say, everybody has to bring their.
Well, and you don't have to dig. Like, I don't want that to feel intimidating
That's what
either.
I was just about
like,
to say. You don't have to dig.
I've filled so many wheelbarrows full of dirt. Like, that is totally acceptable and okay. I rake leaves,
Yes.
and I've smacked a couple lips, but like, I would say it is not by far what I've done the most. Like,
Correct.
I help where I'm needed, and if it's breaking, that's okay.
But even if you're there for the photography, like that's contribution,
Absolutely.
That's like much appreciated. I'm the same. Like, I don't feel that I have the I don't want to mess a jump up.
Yep, I feel that.
So early in the season with our jumps, I'm usually raking. Like, I pick rocks, I pick the rocks up, like helping tarp, all these jumps. I don't know, well, not all public places, but we tarp our jumps every single time. So yeah, it's not like one of those things.
And tarps are expensive. So tarps are sometimes very frail and falling apart, and you just kind of fold it over and rock on it, move on.
So it's just a whole different scene to get into. But what I think is so cool is that more and more across the country, there are more public places to ride, which is really cool. So going down in Florida, there's a few, and this isn't the best example, grapefruit trails. The trails aren't always open, but those trails have started a mountain bike park there. Oh, cool. So it's like cool that you can go and ride, and there's some lines that you can ride and learn on, and learn how to pump and learn how to jump.
Well, there's a lot of pump tracks opening up too. Especially up here, we have one close to here. It's like a half hour from us. It's like a beginner level, but it's fun. Like, we go for a couple hours on Sunday mornings and just ride. And sometimes it's nice. We built a pump track in our backyard during COVID, so we do that. But like, I love a pump track. That's really all I need. Yeah. And Jess can have fun on a pump track for a couple hours. So yeah. And pump tracks are awesome.
Down in Florida, they have a lot of concrete pump tracks, and we went and rode some. So much fun, especially to build your skills and like actually learn how to pump. And
feel that magic feeling. It's addicting.
How long did it take you to learn to pump?
Oh, too long. It was at Ray's. It happened at Ray's, and everyone was trying to help me. I had like 2 or 3 different guys trying to tell me how to pump. They're like, "Oh, it's when your butt touches the seat. You want to bring your butt down and touch the seat." And I don't know what you're saying. Just do it all the time. What am I doing? You have to feel it, and it has to be a really good pump track with enough loops for you to feel the feeling without even doing it. Like, yeah.
So for anyone that's maybe a dirt biker, because mountain bikers are.
Do you kind of post on a dirt bike? Is there a similar thing?
Not quite posting. I always call it like jumping position. Like, if you do jump a horse, you want to stay neutral. You're staying neutral basically on a dirt bike. Like, if your bike moves, you're moving with your bike. Okay. But a lot of people don't pump on a dirt bike, but you should. Oh. But I just wanted to share, like, pumping on a bicycle, if anyone doesn't know, just because I always like to like make sure I want to make everyone feel inclusive here.
Absolutely.
If you're not a BMXer, like, you can still be in on this conversation. But yeah, pumping a pump track is not meant to be pedaled.
Right.
That's the start of it. Like the whole purpose of a pump track is
To get around it without
pump,
pedaling
like
once.
the way that
Yeah.
you would pump on a swing. You build that momentum.
Exactly.
And it's literally the same exact thing on a bicycle where you're pumping, you're I don't even know if you're working with or against the bike in order to gain momentum.
I feel like it's more with the trail than with the bike itself. The bike kind of just is there. Like Jess has told me, like, the bike is stationary. You're moving with the trail, which doesn't necessarily always make sense.
So
but like
steering neutral pretty much is what we like call it in motocross. Yeah. So yeah, you're
the horse thing really helped me figure it out though. Posting.
Yeah.
That analogy really, okay, so there's a certain time when I'm supposed to be up and there's a certain time when I'm supposed to be down.
Exactly.
That helped because, again, the hand thing and my body not being able to tell me what it's doing made it extra fun and difficult. So, but when it happened, I remember it very clearly because I was like, oh my God, I felt it. It's a real thing. You guys aren't crazy. Because it feels like everyone's flipping crazy. What are you talking about? My body does not make any special kind of movement to make this bike go faster.
Every single thing I do. My husband's been doing it his whole life, you know, from the day he was born. So it's like to learn.
Second nature for him.
To learn when you're like older
is so hard.
It's foreign. I mean, you don't learn until you do things, like until you feel it,
right.
And it clicks. And I'm still not, I wouldn't call myself the greatest at it, but riding that pump track, like down in Florida this winter, like I was like, I'm starting to feel it. And it's a good, fun feeling.
It is a great feeling. I know once I did it the first time, I was like, okay, I'm not sure I can make that happen again, but I know what it felt like.
I remember the first time. Adam had actually built me a line here at our farm that I could learn on. And that lasted about a week until they turned into like, I don't know, 15-foot jumps. But sure. I had a line. And I remember the first time I did it, he was like, yes, that was it. And I was like, I could tell, like, I just knew it. Good feeling.
Yes.
Yeah, it's cool that there are more and more parks. And I wish I could like tell every single person that's listening here where the park is in their area. But yeah, there's more and more parks popping up in here locally. As far as public parks, we have Roger Williams in Providence, and that's like an awesome place to go. And there's a fun little pump track there, and there's some jumps that you can like build on, progress on. So that's cool. But also we have jams. So jams are like just like a formal get together. Like it's I don't want to call it formal, but they're typically planned out, you know, they're happening, and they're just like everybody comes, gets together and rides. So how has Women's Weekend been?
Women's Weekend has gone through a lot of different phases. The first phase was like this like crazy buzzing energy, and they're like, oh my God, there's all these girls that ride bikes. And then the second year, you know, everyone's back and we're all friends and we know each other. And then last year was kind of off because of COVID and different things. But I feel like it has really created a lot of awesome connections for people. Because, I mean, I talk to women almost daily now that I met at Women's Weekend. And they're all over the country. It's not just like right here in Pennsylvania, which is like so cool.
It's an event that people plan and they put on their calendars and they make sure they're making their way out here.
People come from Texas, Washington. We have people came from England the first year.
Super when is it cool. This year? I know the date you set. It's earlier than normal.
It is earlier. We're moving it to
fill
August, in. I think. August 28th and 29th.
Oh, it's almost my birthday.
Oh. Jess's birthday is the 31st. So
mine's the 30th.
Oh, that's funny.
I'll remember his. So that's
he usually
really
has
cool.
That Labor Day weekend jam.
Yep. And so that is the 28th and the 29th. And that's one of those events that literally anyone can go to. And I know I've talked to a few girls within the Rad Chicks community that went for the first time this year. And it's cool to just hear of women so many of these women that I talk to, they ride, but they just go to the skate park, or they do have a local pump track, and they're the only girl there. And when they see another girl, they're like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like, it's a girl. And to be able to get together with other women
all in one place,
watch them ride, be able to chat, like hang out, it's just a really good feeling. So
there's a different motivation level. It just feels less stressful to ride with women, I think, personally.
Yeah, I think men just, they're naturally born with different abilities, and not that I hate to admit it, but it's just, it's like a bummer that
don't understand it. They'll never get it.
It's just fine. Like a bummer that we just don't have that. And I know this, well, not that it's not a fact, but I mean, I watch kids just even like driving down the road, and I'll see a kid on his bike, and that kid is like 4 years old, and he's just like doing everything he can to do a wheelie. Like he's just like putting so much effort into that wheelie. And I'm like, I'm just trying to pedal.
I would never try a wheelie.
Like, it's just a whole different mindset. They just have that more aggressive mindset.
Foot jam though. I like to try a foot jam.
Yeah.
See? You just got to pick what you're okay with.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Which is totally cool. But yeah, it's just, you see the guys like doing all these tricks off these jumps and like the big air jumps. And it's just a relief to get around women. And a lot of times you meet someone on your level, you meet someone maybe that's just as nervous or equivalent skills. And you also meet someone that's a step above you, and then someone that's 2 steps above you. So it just gives you
it's inspiring,
something to like strive for, or something to feel like you're part of the community, and you're not.
Well, and they're not all so far above you that you're not even in the same ballpark either. There's definitely levels of experience and ability, which is awesome. There are some people that are just going to ride the pump track all day, and that's awesome. Nothing wrong with that. And that's the other thing. There's like zero judgment. My first year there, I was not riding the roller line. There was no way that was happening. And I did just ride the pump track, and I was fine with it. And then the next year, my goal was to ride the roller line for the lady train, because they do all the girls at once go down the roller line together. And I was going to do it. I just need to be able to do this thing. And so I did it the first time in May that year, went through the roller line, and I screamed the whole time. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? What am I doing? And you're not pumping at all. So you just, And
have you done Frida line at Cody's?
Oh no, I can't get all the way through that. I mean, I've gone through the first, it took me forever to be not afraid of that roll in, because it's so fast. Just rolling in.
Did he change it?
Oh, this was maybe I haven't ridden it for a while.
I know. I don't know what it would have been before. It
was like three years ago when I rode it. 2 years ago. 3 years?
I wouldn't know. I
don't know. It was a while ago when I rode it. But because this last year when I went, it was the first time I've actually ever taken photos there. I just rode the first time I visited, which was super cool for me because I never do that. But he didn't have the pump track running. So I just rode Frida, and it took me forever to get the balls to go down it. But then I ended up getting maybe to like the third or like the first tabletop or something. I didn't get all the way through it, but it was super exciting for me. It's fun to ride.
I haven't ridden it yet because I just bought my bike last summer, I think. Like my own BMX bike. I was just kind of like cruising around on my husband's, and I was like, I think I want to do this. And so I decided to get into it.
Yes.
And I was riding the pump line, and the pump line has like one, I like to call it a beginner jump, where it's got like, it's kind of like a good tabletop. I'm trying to think. Yeah.
That's right.
It kind of like the pump line comes up and around, and then it's got like,
his pump line is fast. You're talking about Situate, right? His is fast. Yeah. I don't like it. It's so fast.
I don't know. I feel like you can kind of take it at your own speed.
I mean, I haven't rode it for a while, but it was too fast for me last time I was there. I was like, nah, I'm not doing this. I can't handle this.
That's fine. Not feeling it today.
Nope.
But he's got like one jump that you can like not continue on the pump line, and you can kind of take this tabletop just to kind of like step it up. But it's got like, an actual takeoff. And that was the first time I'd ever experienced that feeling of like a takeoff.
Yeah.
And I screamed when I first.
Yes.
It's like a roller coaster. Like there is a G-force, and it's like a feeling like you have never felt before, and it was wild. And so I kind of did that, and then my husband was just like, yeah, you can like follow me down Frida. And I was like, he doesn't usually tell me to do anything I can't do. And so I was like, okay. I don't even remember the drop-in. So I may have been there, but I just can't even recall it. But
it's not really like a drop-in. Other people would say you just roll right in, but to me it's stressful. So
no, it's totally fine. I literally can't even envision. I don't remember it at all.
It's okay.
But
it's the same place everyone else pedals in.
Yeah.
All the other lines, kind of.
But I went down and went like up that first jump, and just like that feeling of a takeoff, like I just never it took me some time to get that feeling down. That was like that's a weird feeling.
I just don't do jumps that make me go in the air, really. I just like to stay on the ground.
I'm not really looking to go in the air either, but I was like
well, and if you're not ready for it, sometimes it happens when you don't want it to.
Yeah. So that's what I
don't like ones that buck me. No, don't buck me. I'm not ready for it.
Yeah, it's so important to like learn the skills. Like I admire Joss and her
bike control.
Her relentlessness.
Oh, she just keeps going.
She's so wild. She's wild.
Well, she has no off button either. She's just full bore.
When she's got it in her mind,
as big and as bad as I can.
She's relentless.
It's amazing.
I wish I had that. I'm a lot more of a weenie. So
yes,
kudos to her.
Too. But she's super encouraging to ride with too. Like,
oh my God, she's
doesn't ever make you feel like you're not doing a good job. Oh, what do you want to do? Do you want me to sit by your dog and you can go ride? Absolutely. We're dog moms. We share that responsibility.
Yep.
We trade off.
I would take her dogs any day.
I love her puppies.
So how did you you met Joe through that group?
Yes.
And then your husband, Jess, kind of like introduced you. I mean, how did you kind of start to immerse yourself into all of it?
I mean, so Jess knew Carl in nowhere in Nebraska. He'd met him a couple of years before that, before I was Jess's girlfriend. And I'm just kind of loud is really what it is. I'm loud and I'm funny and I like to be part of the party. And I don't really know how to be somewhere without people knowing I'm there, maybe. But I mean, we just clicked. Me and Carl, we just clicked. And then I started doing stuff for him. And he's got a pretty nice following on Instagram. So people started knowing who I was at that point. And I mean, I think I just got comfortable being that person who was loud and excited about the tricks. And it just happened naturally. When I came to Catty, I was like, not going to do anything. I'm just going to dig and I'm just going to hang out. And then the first week I was here, they had the first women's weekend. And well, I wasn't very quiet.
That's awesome. I mean, that pretty much answers it. Like,
I took photos the whole time because I wasn't comfortable riding, but like I got to know these really awesome girls and they were funny. And it was like the perfect introduction for me because I needed to feel like some sense of belonging to Pennsylvania, even though none of these people were from Pennsylvania, but it sealed the deal. I was there. I didn't leave afterwards.
And how did you, I'm excited to hear your whole journey of creating the zine. What do I call it?
Zine. I don't know. I think it's zine.
Well, it's not a magazine. It's a magazine.
And I sold out before this. I was going to tell you that they're available, but I just sold the last one. So there aren't any available anymore, but I'm going to do another one because I wrote volume 1 on it. So I have to do volume 2.
Now you have to do multiple. I loved the name of it.
Through the Looking Glass.
Mm-hmm. I think that was the name of my like high school yearbook like theme. I do think so. And so when I saw that you were making that, it reminded me so much of like a yearbook where it was like looking back
Oh, that's
on
kinda
the year
cool.
of 2020. It was like, it was really cool. And where'd the idea come from?
So Cody, actually, I went and visited Cody's place in May last year, and he and I were both, I mean, COVID had happened, social media was kind of blowing up with everything that happened in our world, and it was overwhelming and exhausting for all of us. And I had kind of like stopped taking photos altogether. And I was like, not that I like was quitting, but
Well, there weren't events
I was
going on,
just
so
overwhelmed with everything and exhausted. And like, I think I write in the zine about how like it seemed like the hardest thing to take a photo, like to make art just seemed like silly and why and pointless. And we just ended up talking a lot more about how we don't do it for Instagram, Tasha, and you're doing it for, you know, enjoyment, and people should enjoy it how you want them to enjoy it. And I was like, oh shit, I gotta print this all out. Yeah. It was a really awesome conversation. And I took photos that weekend that were like some of my favorites I've ever taken. And I was like, yes, I'm so excited about this. I'm going to do this. And then I pined over it for 14 months. And it's super hard to design for yourself. I did my logo in 2014. So I hadn't probably done anything for myself since then. And it is really difficult to design for yourself. I did so many drafts. My mom is an artist, so that is super helpful. I send stuff her way all the time to like, tell me what you think about this. What is this even? Does this look good? Is this even art? But
I always compare it to like cooking dinner.
Oh yeah.
I'm not an artist, like not by any means.
You're good.
I do
Does it taste good? Absolutely.
I do some of my own stuff, you know, here and there, but it's almost like you're so in it. It's like when you're cooking. I would say when you're cooking, dinner never tastes as good because like you're smelling all the smells, you're like tasting the leftovers as you're like throwing the dishes into the sink, like, and then when you have the final result, your senses have already been overwhelmed that it just doesn't have that.
You can't really enjoy it the right way.
I feel like it's like that.
I can't. Well, and I did that with the zine. I like kept all the photos secret. I'm just now finally sharing some of the photos, but like I kept it secret the whole time. I didn't let the guys from the trail see it. I didn't let anyone see it. I told them, I have this photo of you doing this thing on this jump, but it's in the book. So you're going to have to come to the party. And then Action Wheels offered to throw me a release party. So that was super cool. And I got to hang art up on the wall. He took down a whole bunch of stuff and I got to hang all my photos up on the wall. And I've never had a show of anything besides like graphic school. So it was, I cried a lot.
So what was like the real what was the feeling that made you want to do it? What was the intention? Did you have a vision for it when it started?
I mean,
what did you want to capture and share?
So through the looking glass, I see BMX as art. It is not a sport to me, really. It is artistic wholly and fully, especially with trails. As far as like every jump makes you, you know, feel a certain way, this way, that way. The landing is a hip or is it a straight jump, or all of that is creating more additional feelings. And there's something incredible about the way a bicycle works in itself, and the circle and the lens, and I see it all in a different way, but it's totally all art to me. And I just felt the need to show people how I see it all in one place. Like Instagram was like diluting the crap out of my work, and I love being a part of other zines and like contributing my work, but like for me to be able to take my photos and say, okay, this one looks good next to this one, and this one looks good next to this one, and I can print it over the whole page if I want to, and it's not going to affect anyone else's work or, you know, make yours smaller than mine or mine bigger than yours, any of those things. No one's feelings are hurt, but I can show you what I did in the way I want you to see it. So it was I wanted to like gift wrap it. I wanted to show it in my view.
Did you share your own stories and perspectives? What what?
So I
What
wrote a couple of things.
captions?
There isn't a lot of writing in it. It's mostly photography. It's at quite a few different places. The first section is focused on the locals and more digging and like those people riding, because they don't usually ride at jams. And so if you get to see them ride, it's like special treat kind of. Those are my favorite days. And so there's some of those photos. And then part of BMX is definitely traveling. So I have like Situates in there, Kiko, Posh has a section in there. And then I did a section for just women. And I should have wrote down the number. There's probably maybe 13 different girls featured in there.
Do they all know they're featured? Does everyone know?
Yes, so I asked them all questions to answer for the zine, why they love trails, essentially. So even Jazzy, J-Bone's daughter, got to tell me, you know, why she loves going so fast. And Olivia Miller,
I was just gonna say,
you know, she said she likes it because it's softer than concrete.
You should have seen her last year at the River Recovery Jam.
She goes hard
Little
like
girl
that
took
every day.
Her first gap, and what a little badass.
She's amazing.
Oh my God.
I love her so much. She did this hip at the end of, we have like a tabletop line at Catty. She did this hip at the end of it and landed in surfer. She did a no footer to surfer. And so I took a sequence shot of the no footer and then landing in surfer and coming down. It's the coolest thing. She's super awesome.
She is just.
And full bore all the time.
Like, yeah, like when I
quit.
saw her like going for that gap, like it was the first time she'd ever gone for it. And I don't know if she ever fully landed it, but she definitely came close, and I guarantee she's
well, and she'd keep going even if she fell, I'm sure.
Oh, she was banging. We have pictures of her and Joss and all their battle wounds.
Yes, that's awesome.
One of my favorite pictures. But I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, you're good.
I was thinking of her, and I was like, she has to be in there.
Oh, definitely. Her sister's in it too. V.
Yeah, I know V too.
Ellie Baylor. She's a new rider. She's a Posh local. Her dad rides at Posh, and she's shredding. Danny's in it. Joss is in it. But it's just really cool to have, like, I had a section for women, and then I made it a little bit more special because they're women, and I want to know their thoughts. And Mo, I don't know if you've met Mo yet. Mo Malone.
No.
She's incredible. She's from, she lives in Colorado now. She's a tattoo artist, but she rides, and she comes out to Women's Weekend every year. But she's in her 30s, I think. But she's a really good rider. She shreds a concrete bowl like nobody's business. She's super fun to watch. Awesome. But yeah, it has a lot of really cool photos of girls in it that not everyone from here either. So I liked that part.
That's cool. And how did it all come together? I mean, how long did it take, first of all? The zine, how long did it take to get it all together? How long?
I mean, I didn't really know what it was going to look like so I just like took pictures all year and was like, I'm just going to put this all together later. And I really thought that part would be way easier because I had already taken the photos. But it wasn't. It was probably the hardest part. And I don't think I really knew. I did the sections first. So I kind of decided sections, but then I had to like trim down the photos because you can't put 50 photos in each section, even though you have 50 photos from that day, at least. And it was definitely hard to edit and trim down and make into what it is. But the first one I saw in print, I printed at my work, and they didn't have a way to print two-sided from the cheap copier printer because I wasn't going to print it like fancy or anything. So I printed every page out, and then I came home with a glue stick and glued them all together front and back, and then I folded them all up, and then I cried because it was real and it was all in the right places and it was everything I wanted it to be. So it was super emotional for me to go from like, okay, I have this idea, I want to show people how I see BMX. What does that even mean? And to what it is. I mean, it's kind of hard to put into words, but it was everything that I wanted it to be. So
That's awesome.
I kind of already have ideas for the second one, and it's going to be a little bit different, but
I
I'm
was
excited about it.
wondering, like, do you kind of have it planned out? Because I know you mentioned you were bummed, like Swanfest didn't happen.
Oh, yeah, I was mad about that.
You wanted to go to Clint's, you never got to go up there. Like,
Yep.
so many things that last year kind of held us
I feel
back
like
from
everything that happened though, it just made it what
Worked
it
out.
is, and that's okay. So this year I don't think I'm going to do any focus on events in particular, and I think I'm going to like seek certain people out and kind of profile people for it.
That's
It's
fun.
my plan. So
It's fun.
we'll see how it goes.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Did anybody buy the zine that surprised you? Was there anyone that you were like, oh my God, so and so bought it?
There were some of those. Can I say that? Do you want to know that? Is it? I mean, like, I don't want to be like braggy or anything. Like,
As
that's
long as
not
you're
me.
comfortable with it.
I'm comfortable. I was like super stoked with people who bought it. Like, first of all, I didn't expect to sell all of them. My first plan was only to buy 100, and my pre-order paid for enough for 200. So I bought 200 and thought, this is stupid. You're never going to sell 200 copies of something that you made in your little tiny office. But I sold 100 before the release party, and I was like, oh, okay, this could work. This is okay. But Stu Johnson bought one, which was like, really? You want to see something I made? Are you kidding me? I know who you are.
Right.
And then I messaged him the other day to see if he got it, and he didn't get it yet. So I hope that the postage isn't screwed up and Stu Johnson never gets my zine. But I really tried to get it there.
Good
The post
vibes.
office was actually a terrible experience for me. I don't like to brag on anyone, but I went to the post office with all my, like, I printed off address labels. I was so prepared, and I am terrible at the post office. Like, I am running in with stuff falling out of the box and I'm taping it in the line, and that's who I am. But I was prepared. I had everything put together. I had stickers on everything. And I said, okay, so I have like 100 of these to mail. And she says, well, give me one and I'll weigh it and I'll tell you the postage. And I said, oh, okay. And so she weighed it and she said $1.80 in stamps. So you have to put 3 of these on and 1 of these. So I had to put 4 stamps on everything. And I'm not even sure if it's going to get to people. I don't know tracking numbers. I get nothing. So, I mean, I love when people post it on Instagram because then I know it got there. But when people order more than one, then I get a tracking number, but
it's stressful. Shipping was a whole, I'd never shipped anything in my life.
I almost messaged you about it because I was like, why does this suck so bad?
So what I'd recommend, let's go into shipping details here. First class shipping. First class shipping is the cheapest you're gonna get.
Yes, I did that.
PayPal.com. Print out labels there.
You did it. You did your own labels on the PayPal.
I do.
Okay.
I like buy my own labels.
You have a scale?
I did buy a scale.
Oh.
It's worth it.
I mean, I'm sold out now, so.
Next round. Though. It's good to know this information. I have a lot of people that message me about shipping information. Well, and it was a learning process for me. My first shirt that I shipped, which same as you, you're just like, oh my gosh, somebody wants to buy
my stuff.
It cost me $13 to ship
it. Oh no.
It was the biggest learning lesson, and there's been a lot of those learning lessons. It just happens. But the first class is anything under you said it was over a pound, right?
Under. I mean, just depending on how much people bought, how many people bought. But then I had
anything under a pound can be first class. Anything over, you're going to do priority, but it'll give you a tracking and insurance.
But then I made these prints, and I was like, oh, I'll just send the prints with the zine. Well, I printed them on canvas, and I couldn't stomach folding them So then I had to buy these special cardboard rolls so I could roll my prints and send my prints. And that was a whole different shipping debacle.
Now
But that one was a little more smoother. But.
You still have some prints available for sale though, right?
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure I insert some of those shots into the podcast
Sure.
here. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can check those out. And
that was the first time I've done art for the BMX community too. I should say that. Like,
so good though. I love it.
Thank you. It was,
So
I mean,
good.
another piece of like what I see when I look at trails, like, and I drew several versions of them before and sent them to my mom. What do you think about this? She said, well, what if you do the line thicker here? What if you do this? And so it was like a lot of back and forth to do the first one. And then I was like, well, what if I do 3 more? Sure, why not? But that's why it took a year to do, because, you know, I originally was going to do a drawing for every chapter, but that was just too much work. And it kind of became too much art then in the zine to me. Like it was more about bikes than it is about the art. And so I think it's the right seasoning.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it's like through your eyes. So I mean, art can definitely be through your eyes, of course, but it's not what you were going
right.
for. So.
Yeah, it is definitely a photography zine.
And the website to get a print, if somebody wants one, is www.bigcartel.com/TJL photo. Is that correct?
Is that what it is? I'll look at it.
I wrote it down. Where did I?
TJLphoto.bigcartel.com.
Oh, I'm so wrong. TJLphoto.bigcartel.com. We'll put that in the show notes as well.
Yeah, that's Karen.
But yeah, I thought they came out really good. I thought the zine came out awesome. I wish I'll get my hands on one next time, but I'm excited.
I have a couple extra. I will find you.
Be like more a part of it, to be able to fully experience it, like, you know, to connect to it. And I'm excited.
Well, and it is definitely a different, this is kind of cool when we're talking about sharing trails, and the trails community in itself is, BMX is small, but trails are like even smaller, and it is like super family oriented. Like they're already sold. So, but the last 20 zines I did a donation to Rob, who got hurt in Long Island at Kiko. But like, that's because they would do the exact same thing if Jess was hurt. Like, I had a guy in England who bought 10 zines to sell in England. And I was like, really? You're going to pay $40 for shipping to get these 10 zines? Yep, let's do it. I don't know what his voice sounds like, but that's how I imagine it is. And he got them and posted them yesterday, and then they sold out in a day. And like, that's a mind-boggling experience for me.
You're like,
I'm not even involved in that, and it's done.
These and someone bought them.
It's so cool. Crazy.
That's one thing. So one of our good friends, I don't know if, do you know Eric Hennessy? Yes. I was gonna say he's always at Clint's. Well, he lives at Clint's, but Eric Hennessy is one of
my favorite riders. He's an incredible rider.
Yeah, and it's always like unfortunate that he's not on social media, so nobody gets to see him or know him, and he's like such a cool character. But he's like one of my husband's best friends, and we've done a lot of traveling, but we've gone to a lot of different places together, and he's gotten to do a lot of things. And I would say he's one of the first persons that really introduced to me how global BMX is, because he would go to England, he would go to New Zealand, he would go to all these, I mean, he was a rider for FBM, so that was part of the deal. But it was just not knowing the world of BMX and like seeing somebody do all these things, like it didn't quite make sense then, but now it's really interesting to see how it is such a small knit community, but at the same time it is global. And like we through traveling have gotten to meet people in different states, and
Jess said to me the first time he explained BMX to me that I could go to any state in America and have a place to sleep. And I was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? But it's so true. You could probably go to several different countries and have the same thing because of BMX, it is a family wherever you go, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, it's different. It's interesting. And we feel that in motocross as well, because motocross is pretty
Sure.
well close knit and everybody is always traveling here, there, like going south for the winter to ride and all these things. But yeah, it's really cool. And to meet people in other places and then have them come here and stay with us. And it's just cool to be able to meet strangers that you can instantly connect with and feel safe with.
Well, yeah, I did actually the first time I went out for a K-Rob fitness group thing. I flew out to Boston to do a 5K with the group. And I didn't know any of them. And I was actually dead broke. So one of them had paid for my plane ticket.
Oh, wow.
I'd never met them in person. My mom was like, you call me the second you get off that plane, because you ain't ended up in someone's van. And I took a selfie with Karen. When Karen picked me up, it was, okay, Mom, I'm not with an axe murderer. But all of that because of BMX and the connections that we make. And
that's where I say it's so important. And I'm learning myself. I am really, I'm an introvert. I really enjoy just like being in my bubble. And when I know I have to go somewhere, I have to literally turn it on. It's like, I have to turn that switch and be like, all right, it's go time. Like, because I can easily sit by myself quietly and enjoy myself.
I would have never guessed that you were an introvert based on your
Everybody says that, but I think that's like,
because I am definitely more introverted. In my home, I am like, all I need is me. When I'm there, I can go and I can be loud and I can be Tasha, but I definitely need to recharge here. This is what I need.
I have to turn it on, and I literally have to mentally prepare myself sometimes to do. I don't want to say mentally prepare myself, but it's like, it has to be my mission. Like if I'm going somewhere, it's like, all right, we're going to go here. And you're going to be fun. It's almost like you visualize what experience you want to have. I always say, like, whoever you want to become, you have to be that person. Like, it's not necessarily a fake it till you make it, but you have to be who you want to be. So yeah, sure. I always try to make the conscious effort bit by bit and push myself to get more out there. So it's like, people like me admire people like you because you make us feel welcome. So good. That's good. My mom taught me loud to do that. And like quiet people might be like, like react differently. And even when I'm loud now here, I probably wasn't loud in the beginning. The first year I was pretty quiet, but like now I'm comfortable and I can be loud and I can welcome people and I can say, actually, I don't know if you know Jess Bush Bikes. I don't know if you know who that is. She's on Instagram, but she rides mountain. Is that her name? Bushy Bikes. Jessica Bush, maybe. I don't know, but I don't know that one. I met her through Instagram. No. And then she had the guts to come to a dig day the other day. She never dug trails in her life, but she came down to the woods and I didn't know she was coming, but there she was. And so her and I raked leaves together all day and now we're buds. And she got married the other day. I said, congratulations. But now she said, congratulations to me. It was the same day as my zine party. So like, now I have a new friend just like that. It's kind of cool. It's awesome. And that's what I love about like Women's Weekend and just all the different events. And that's the beautiful thing of social media, as much as it can be exhausting at times for some people or overwhelming or whatever it may be. There's a lot of positivity out there and it keeps us connected and lets us see all the things that are going on so that we can like boost ourselves up and get out there. Definitely. I agree. Well, girl, we're long-winded. Thank you. We could go all night. It's easy to talk to you. That's a great sign. So I was super nervous with my last one. Like I was like, I'd never met the dude and I was like, I don't really know what to say to you. Blah, 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 blah. So this was easier, probably partially because you're a woman. And we're both a little chatty. So that's nice. Yeah, it's Thank fun. You. I have to, I myself I get like anxiety starting, like podcasting gives me a little bit of anxiety, just a little bit. Yeah. Where it's like, I have to reach out because I'm not really the most social person, where if I can get to know something about someone, it makes it a lot easier. But if you reach out to someone you've never met and they don't post a ton on Instagram, like it's tough. You don't really know them. Yeah. I'm not the greatest at creating a conversation, based off of no knowledge. So
Sure. We didn't even get to talk about gardening. Oh,
how is your asparagus?
well, I can't pick it anymore, because it's only my second year. So now I just look at those weird things waving in the air. But I planted corn last week, so we're gonna see if that works.
Oh, that's a big one.
Sounds fun.
My peas are about this big right now.
My peas, I forgot to thin them out good enough. I thought I thinned well enough, but they were like taken over and I had to go through and pull. I hate pulling them. I hate killing the plant, but
I literally
the only way that they can live is if I kill another one.
I dropped 2 seeds into it like as a starter for my zucchini, and they're both about this big right now. And now I have to choose one.
Choose.
Can't do it.
I hate doing it.
I look at it and I'm like, you're gonna choose one. You're gonna choose.
Last year was my first year gardening, and I had a watermelon seed and a cucumber seed come up in some older potting soil, but they both came up, and I hadn't had success with either of them, so I tried to save both.
Did it work?
They both died. They both died. It's fine. I feel like it's almost like the second child this year. I'm a little bit less
yes
worried about it. I'm like, oh, maybe I should water it. Oh, it's gonna rain. It's okay. It's fine. And then I'm like, oh, I haven't done any weeding.
Year 1 was a lot of work. It was overwhelming.
Oh yeah.
Year 2, I agree. I took it just section by section, and I didn't get overwhelmed by the entire garden all at once. I still have one section that's all weeds, but I haven't planted anything there yet, so it's all right.
It's okay. Yeah, I have a spot I need to plant cucumbers still. But I did this year. This gets planted in March, this gets planted in April, et cetera, et cetera. Last year I was like, I'm planting today, and I planted it all in one day.
That's what I did.
Probably not the best way to do it.
I did it. Well, I guess I did it in a couple of days. I did it a little late this year because last year we had COVID and I was home all of March, and the weather just seemed different last year. It was a cold spring this year, and so I was a little late to it, but
I was late too, but it's fine.
They're all doing
my
fine.
Friend already has peppers. I don't have any.
Wow.
They're not. That's going to be a while.
No, I still got the seeds sitting on my counter.
I have radishes that have started coming up though.
That's cool.
Radishes are fast, and so they're encouraging. They're like a motivational plant.
That's how I feel with green beans.
Oh, I don't ever plant green beans.
Oh, they're so easy.
Really?
That was probably my most successful plant last year.
Potatoes. I love planting potatoes.
We could go another hour.
They're just so awesome. They're just so hardy, and all the work is happening underneath, and then they bloom, and then you can pick potatoes underneath. I don't know. It's just so fun.
When do you plant those?
How?
When?
Early, like April.
Yeah, they're cold. They like the cold.
Yeah, they don't mind. But they come up super fast, and they're just a hardier plant. And so you don't really have to worry about them at all. They're happy and full, and I'm gonna have new potatoes soon.
I'll have to do that next year.
Potatoes are fun.
That and garlic. I keep getting told that I need to do my garlic, and you have to do that in the fall.
Yep.
I need to do that because
I can give you garlic bulbs. Do you want garlic bulbs?
Okay.
So when I came here, the woman I'll just give you some of mine, because the woman who had lived in this house for 50 years had perennial garlic coming up. So I gave some to my mom last year, and she has some of Betty Lou's garlic at her house. So I'll give you some.
Betty Lou will be spread all over the
love
country.
it.
I love it.
She has rhubarb too. I make rhubarb wine now because I have all this rhubarb. So
rhubarb, all right.
It's pretty good. I had it before, but I had never tried to make it. I had never tried to make wine.
How do you
before.
make this?
Oh, I got a recipe book, and this is what happens. I work from home now, so I just do things all the time. But my mom was this way. She was a
she's really hands-on, creative, and
if you had an idea, she was there for it. What do you want to do? Let's make it happen.
What
you want to run for student council? You want to paint a picture? Anything.
What is involved with rhubarb wine? What do you?
So you snap all the rhubarb, and you put it in this. I have a special bag that I put it in. That's like a mesh bag,
Okay.
And you pour like a gallon of water over it and you let it sit for 3 days and it makes rhubarb juice. And then you put yeast and sugar in it. You put a lot of sugar in it because sugar eats the yeast and that's what makes the wine. But I just did the juice part and I put the yeast in last night, and I have enough rhubarb to make a second batch. So
That's cool. How long does it have to sit for?
6 months eventually. Yeah. So, but you, it's called racking. You put it into a bottle and then you put it into another bottle and
Yeah,
there's a process.
that is process.
I'm not very
Kudos to
good at
you
it
for-
yet, but I mean, I drank it and it was good. So I gave 1 bottle away, the rest, and I only made 4 bottles. So it's not like I have a problem or anything.
We were getting worried. We were a little worried.
Only 4 bottles. So actually, I want to make more this year so I can share it. I think that's kind of the coolest part about making something. So
Yeah, that is super cool. And it's something unique that nobody's probably ever had. Like,
my mom makes cherry wine, so I'm just turning into her, really, is what's happening.
it's what we do. As much as we may or may not want to, we're going to turn into our mothers at some point.
Just who, and I mean, she's pretty dang cool, so I'm fine with it.
Yeah, she sounds cool.
I like her.
I'll let her know.
Yeah, thanks.
Let
I
her listen to
appreciate
this.
that. Awesome.
Well, it was so much fun to talk to you.
Yes,
Thanks so
you
much
too.
for coming on. And I will for sure see you at Women's Weekend. I'm gonna mark my
Awesome.
calendar, and there better not be any motocross events that weekend.
We will make it happen.
If Cody gets his trails up and running again, hopefully we'll see you up here at
Yes.
Situate.
I like that.
Awesome.
I've never gone to Roger Williams either, so we need to go up there either way.
Yeah,
see
if
it.
it's like if you're in the area, it's worth stopping by. It's
Absolutely.
only 25 minutes from here, so
Awesome. Sounds good.
sweet.
Have a wonderful night.
You too. Bye.